So I am going to make the kale salad, and I have it written over here, whether or not it's on camera right now, but we're going to call it the Zippy Kale Salad. Kale, of course, has been the top vegetable that all the celebrities found out because there's so much nutrition in kale, and if you've never seen a kale leaf, I've left one uncut, and I'm going to start cutting it. It calls for 3 cups of kale. I've got, there's probably close to 3 cups there right now, or maybe about 2, but I'm going to just de-stem this kale that I've washed already. If you've never seen how this works, it just comes off really, really fast, and here's some kale stems that I already cleaned off. And just toss it aside. And so it says to really, really finely chop. So I'm just going to squish this in my hand and really, really finely chop this kale. This one might not be as finely chopped as the previous because I'm in a little bit of a hurry, but you can get it really super fine. And then I usually cut it one time the other direction so you don't have big long strands in your salad. But that's probably a little more than 3 cups, but you know, this salad has a lot of give to it, so we're going to just go with that. Our next ingredient is radishes, and I've already got some cut up. It calls for 3/4 of a cup of radish. That's not 3/4 of a cup. I just use my estimation because it's kind of balanced or based on color. So when you're just finely slicing a radish like this, there's nothing fancy to cutting a radish. Make sure I don't cut my fingers there. And don't you love my cute little compost pail? I love that thing. It sits on my countertop and it looks pretty. Anyway, I'm just going to cut the radishes in half so they're not really huge. And I'll do one more. I probably don't always use 3/4 of a cup. A lot of it is balance of color, because what you've got is green kale leaves, and then you've got red things like radishes and tomatoes and red bell pepper, and we're going to eventually get to the green onions. And I noticed I've made this salad so often that I must have added black olives, because when I got the original recipe out, and I'll show you the book that I got it out of, I see that they didn't have any black olives, which I really love. The recipe is from this book, which is called the 30-Day Diabetes Miracle Cookbook, and it's the book that I used when I was involved in a diabetes seminar, and that was a couple of years back. So what's next? The Roma tomato. This is a nice big Roma tomato. I've got half of it cut already in there, and I'm just going to quickly cut this up. And I think time is ticking. Whoops, that wasn't a cut, that was a smash. So just cut tomatoes in anything that the pieces aren't too big to get in your mouth. I'm doing this in a hurry. Some of them got a little squished there. And we'll just throw that into the salad. Toss that in, and then the red bell peppers next. So what you're doing is you're putting a lot of red things because your salad has green kale. That looks really pretty. Okay? And then of course green onion. Calls for 2. I've got 1 cut up already, and I'm just going to cut up the other one here. Green onion can be a little bit smaller than this, depends on when in the season. So just to really do this in a quick fashion, I'm just going to cut it up really fine. And if you don't like green onions, you can leave it out. Of course, everything that's bright colored are where all of your antioxidant properties and your phytochemicals, have you heard those words before? Phytochemicals? Yeah. They've discovered that there's so much more in plant food besides vitamins and minerals. These phytochemicals, I don't think they've even named half of them because there's hundreds of them. Okay, so we've got all kinds of color, and we're going to throw in our sunflower seed in just a minute, but right now I'm going to start on the dressing, and I'm going to just juice my lemon juice because we're looking for, the recipe calls for 2.5 tablespoons, and we might actually not need that much. I've already measured 2.5 tablespoons of water in this little jar, and I actually have learned that I like it not quite so lemony, so I actually put in about 1.5, which is about, that's 2. I'm going to use it instead of the 2.5 of lemon juice. Bragg's is a low sodium soy sauce. and it calls for 2 of Bragg's. I think we've kind of tweaked that to use 1, sometimes maybe 1.5. And so it really depends on what you like. And then the last ingredients are 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder and 1/4 teaspoon, which is just half of my half, of garlic powder. And you can put some extra virgin olive oil in there, but I typically don't. It clings to the leaves a little better, but I like it just fine like this. So there's your dressing. And the beauty of it is that it does not go bad, ever. So I'm going to pour that dressing on here and mix. And in fact, what you find is that you don't even have to use all of this. I'm just going to start with half, and it'll take a little bit to mix because it takes a smidgen to get it all mixed up. But what you find is that you've got some beautiful color, and I'm going to just toss in some sunflower seeds. What did it call for? I think a tablespoon? 2.5? Whatever. Just for color. You can toss it in, and the recipe doesn't call for it, but some black olives make it look really, really nice too, so I'm going to toss some of that in. So you can begin to see how colorful this is, and it's mixing up very nicely with the dressing. Sometimes I will only put a few things in and mix it up, and then when I put it on my plate, I just add a few of the color, the last of the color items, and it can really, really look festive and pretty. And there is your kale salad, and spilling over the top, but you've got quite a nice volume. And we're going to enjoy this and have something for a snack. There's the kale salad.